Hello, Monday morning. Good Monday morning. I wore my Monday Lisa shirt just in honor of this Monday. So, I am working in my watercolor journal again today, and I have been doing a series during all of 2026 called the ABCs of Art. And if you have been watching along, we are on the letter O today. And last week I did a really fun lesson on neurographic art. And if you have not seen that, the best place to be able to go watch the replay is on my YouTube channel. All of the ABCs of Art videos are on a playlist, so you can just kind of watch them in order. They're about 30 to 40 minutes maybe. And you can see ones like this and all of the other ones that I've done. And today we're going to do a super easy, super interesting op art drawing. Op standing for optical illusion, optical art or optical illusion. And all that you need today is a piece of paper. I'm using the watercolor journal, but for this one you could use copy paper. It does not need to be anything fancy for this one. I am just using a regular number 2 pencil. And if you really want to increase the contrast of this one, you can also use what's called an ebony pencil. And an ebony pencil is a pencil that I used when I was teaching my high school drawing class because you can get a really rich black, right? With a graphite pencil, a regular number 2 pencil, it's always going to be kind of gray. With an ebony pencil, the lead is different. I don't even know exactly how, but you can get like a richer black. So if you really want to increase the contrast on this optical illusion, make it even more of an optical illusion, an ebony pencil. You can buy these individually. I believe they have them at like Michael's and Hobby Lobby individually. You can order them off places like Dick Blick. If you want to get one from my Amazon shop, just put in the comments that you want the link to my Amazon shop. I think they're maybe like $2.59 or something like that for it, like an individual. I usually get them in a pack of like 3 or something. I am probably also going to use an ultrafine Sharpie today because that way you'll be able to see the outline of what it is that I'm doing a little bit easier. So I will draw it in pencil first, and I would just suggest that you do yours in pencil. And if you have the ebony pencil and not outline it, but I'm going to go ahead and outline it just so that you can see it a little bit better. We'll see how much it shows up on the watercolor journal. If you are showing up for the first time, my name's Jamie, and I have been doing this Art in the AM series at 10:30 on Mondays ever since April 1st of 2020. So for over 6 years, just celebrated last week, 6 years, or the week before, I guess it was, 6 years of doing live videos. And when I first started, I think it was a Wednesday, was the very first day that I started, and did videos for like 5 days in a row for 2 months. And so I was doing a video every single day. Those videos are no longer available, but since then, after that 2 months, I've been doing, I think I went to 3 days a week and then 2 days a week. And now every Monday at 10:30 a.m., I try to do a quick little video to just kind of spark some creative idea. That is what I'm all about, is trying to get you to start creating on a regular basis. So this little optical illusion that I'm going to do for you today is just a really fun way to just kind of, with very simple materials, do something kind of creative and fun, and you'll see why it's an optical illusion. So I'm going to go ahead and move my stand down here and hope that my stand is staying in place. And I'm going to try to move it down just a little bit more there. Looks like it's staying in place. And I have it turned. I want to make sure that I'm on the right page. So this is my optical illusion, so I'm turning it over on this side. And I don't have an example of this one, so I'm just going to draw it out and show it to you. But there are different versions of this one. This one is, I don't know if there's a name for it. It's kind of an oval. So you'll see as I'm working on it. So I think I mentioned this last week on the video. I realized that where I have my paper and where I have my screen, you may have comments that are going over top of what it is that I'm doing here. And if you're on your phone, there is a little caret, right? The little down arrow that you can press, and you can get rid of all of the comments. And that way you can actually be able to see, you know, what it is that I'm doing here better. So I'm going to do this fairly large on here. You may want to do it much smaller just to be able to, good morning, Kathy, just to be able to not have as much with the pencil that you're going to shade in. But I'm going to do it fairly large just to be able to kind of show you. So the first thing that I'm going to start with is like an eyeball shape that's kind of flattened, right? So I'm going to do kind of I call it a smile line. So it's just, you know, I think you can kind of see that on there, but I'll go over it with the Sharpie so you can kind of see. So it's a smile, and then I do the frown line to make it look like an eyeball, right? Kind of like a flattened out eyeball. Gosh, the lighting is really bad. I think that you can see that, but I'm going to outline it all when I get it finished in the Sharpie marker so you can see. The next thing that I do after I make this little eyeball is I do a little dot, maybe about a ½ inch outside, about a ½ inch outside the eyeball. And I'm doing this upside down, so now I kind of have to think about it. I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference. Let me turn around. Yeah, the right way. On your left hand side, I'm going to go down about a ½ inch and draw a line. And then on this side, I'm going to go up about a ½ inch. So do you see how I have the line going down and I have the line going up? And this next step is where I really want you to look at kind of like what's on here. I don't know that you can see that very well at all. I'm going to draw it in pencil, and then I'll go over the lines with the Sharpie so you can be able to see it a little bit better. I don't know if I turn, let me try this. Let me try turning the camera around and adjusting my stand so you're looking straight down at it, and let me see if that works a little bit better. Okay, so I have turned it around here, and I'm going to try to position this so that you can see a little bit better what I'm doing. Let's see if I can get that without my stand. There's like all kinds of weird shadows, but I think you can see that a little bit easier. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it around now. It'll make it easier for me to follow. So now it's kind of like this weird little eyeball here. So here's the next step. I want you to go from the left outer corner of the eye, and we're going to draw a curved line to meet the bottom of this over here. So watch what it is that I'm doing. I'm going to curve up, kind of follow the curve of the eye a little bit, and I'm going to curve down, and I'm going to meet the bottom of this line. So I just kind of did this curve up, and I met this one. And then I'm going to kind of do the same thing with the right corner of the eye, and I'm going to have it come up here to meet really where I made the dot. So if you don't want to do these lines, maybe those would even be confusing. Maybe you wanted to do the dots first and then just draw these lines. Maybe that would make it easier. So I have this line going on top here, this line going, and I could have even rounded that up a little bit more. And then I'm going to take this, well, we'll start on the left-hand side, and I'm going to go from the dot that I made over here to now the top of the line over here. And I'm going to go from the dot over here to the bottom of the line. And you can play around with this. You know, since my eye shape was a little bit off, it makes it a little bit harder to see. I feel like you can see that pretty well, so I am going to shade this in without using the Sharpie, because really the Sharpie creates lines that are a little bit too dark. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with just my number 2 pencil so you can kind of see how it would look with that. And any place where there is a starting point, so there's this point and this point, but then there's this line and this line, I'm going to do shading. So there's going to be 4 different spots that I'm going to do shading. So I will start in this corner, and where the corner starts, I'm going to have that be the darkest, and then it's going to gradually get kind of lighter, maybe to about halfway. So I'm going to press down harder here. And like I said, with your Sharpie, you can get really a much darker line. And then I'm just going to ease up on the pressure a little bit and have it get lighter and lighter as I get to the center. You know, this is something that I taught my high school students, how to control the pressure on your pencil. It's actually a really good skill to practice and to do. So I'm going to really darken that as much as I can with this graphite pencil. So I'm just starting really dark, and I'm getting lighter and lighter to about halfway almost in the center of this eye kind of shape. Then I'm going to go over here to this point, kind of do the same thing over to about half. So I'll start really dark in the center. The whole purpose of me doing these Art in the AM videos, like I said, is to give you just a quick little way to do something creative and to just give yourself that break to be able to not think about other things. All right, because I'm sure that we all have things that I almost want to say consume our mind. Maybe things that we're worried about, maybe people that we're concerned about, maybe, there are so many different things. Health, finances, just relationships in general. There could be all kinds of different things that we could be worrying about. When you're creating and doing something, you have to focus on this. So that's why it relaxes your brain. That's why it gives you a break from the other things that you're thinking about. Okay, now I'm going to come over to here, and I will give you a tip. If you feel like when you are laying down your hand, it is smearing your graphite, just take a piece of paper, and this is where I was kind of like practicing a little bit. Just take a piece of paper so you can have it down on your drawing to cover it. So if I wanted to do that, I'm going to start with this line here and go maybe a little bit less than halfway. So I'll just kind of cover it up to about there. So now with this, since this line is going vertical, since this line's going vertical, I'm trying to kind of do my pencil lines to start, but I still end up kind of going in the direction that the lines are going. That was another skill that I would teach my drawing students, is how to go all in one direction with your pencil strokes. See where there's kind of like a darker line right there? I would come back over and just kind of transition that a little bit better. With the watercolor paper, it's a little bit harder because it has all these bumps and ridges in there. So I kind of have to go over it a little bit more. If you do this on copy paper, just smooth paper, you probably wouldn't have to do that as much. And so as I keep going and going, I'm just getting lighter and lighter on my pressure, trying to keep it even so that when I get all the way over to here, it's just a really light pencil line. When I taught drawing students, I did not allow them to be able to take and smear this, because especially with graphite, it just makes it look kind of dirty. So I did not smudge or, smear that in. So are you kind of starting to see a little bit of the optical illusion? I'll bring it a little bit closer when I'm all finished here, and then I'll show you kind of how it's an optical illusion. It looks like it's shaded in correctly, right? I'm doing like the dark to light and it's shaded in, but you'll see, and you may be starting to see as I'm getting this, you know, now it's uncovered, that it's really an impossible shape. They call these impossible shapes because this shape really could not exist. And you'll see as I kind of follow the lines after I get this all shaded in why that is. I've seen ones like this where they have like a little person, and you can really tell with the little person there that it is an impossible shape that could never exist. I'm kind of moving my hand up here just so I don't smear the graphite. And then I'll show you what it looks like when I use the ebony pencil too. So I'm getting a little bit lighter. I'm not kind of coming, you know, as far over as I did with that pointed one there, but, you know, close to the center there. So you just have 4 places to shade in. So I want you to imagine that this right here looks like this is the inside, right? This looks like this curve, because it's darker right here, is behind this. It's like the slope inside, as if you're looking inside and seeing the inside part of this oval. But I want you to follow this over to here, because right about here, now it changes to where this darker part looks like the bottom of this shape. So these couldn't exist. Are you seeing that? This, you couldn't follow this line and then all of a sudden have it turn to now be the outside when it started over here as the inside of the shape. And it's the same for this over here. This kind of looks like it's the inside of this curve right here. But as I follow along, now it becomes in front of this right here, which makes it look, so it's like this weird twist. And there was an artist, MC Escher, who did a lot of these impossible designs like this. When I think of optical illusions, he's definitely one of the artists that comes to mind that did a lot of, especially in like graphite and, you know, just black and white too. I'm going to take the ebony pencil just to show you how much darker I can get these areas. They're pretty dark with the graphite, but I just want to show you a little bit with the ebony pencil how much darker I can get that. And it's just kind of like in the... And I actually like the ebony pencil because it's a softer lead, and I feel like I can blend a little bit better with it too. So I probably could get into the little grooves of the watercolor paper even easier. And it's ending up being a little darker going out just because of how dark it starts. So I'll have it kind of go out to there. Even with the ebony pencil, I don't take anything and blend this. You could take a little blending stump. Do you know what one of those are? I think I have one right here. This is a little blending stump, and I could take and I could blend that in. And on the watercolor paper, I might want to do that just to get rid of all the little bumps and have it be smoother. I always taught my drawing students to try to learn how to apply the pressure evenly so they didn't have to blend with one of these. But I'll show you just kind of like what this looks like. There's a little bit of pink ink on there. So it's giving me a little bit of a pink glow. So it really does make it look smoother with the ebony pencil on this watercolor paper, because I really just can't get all of those little, it would take me a while. So I kind of like it blended in with the blending stump, and I'll go way over here to just make it really light. But can you see how much darker that is right there than these 3 areas where I use the ebony pencil? So you can really get a lot more contrast, almost like a really deep black over there. So that is your little creative spark idea, creating this optical illusion, this impossible shape of this oval eyeball kind of shape that really could not exist in nature. It would have to twist and it would just be a really odd shape. I think someone has tried to create an actual three-dimensional object that looks like one of these impossible shapes, and I think that someone has figured out how to do it, but even then, it's because of how you're looking at it that it works. So it's not actually the shape, it's how it's viewed that makes it look like this one. So that is your quick little project today. I hope that you try this little optical illusion, and when you do, you can post it inside of my Art Journaling 101 group. Inside that group right now, we are doing the April prompts, which every month I give a prompt for. And this month, for the month of April, we are doing flowers. And this is the list, the April prompts list. So if you would like this list, just go into Art Journaling 101 and you can have this list. And I have been keeping up with doing a flower each day in this journal. Just a simple kind of idea of the flower. I'm just going in order, making it easy. And I've kind of settled on this kind of idea where it's this collaged background with some paint and then a single flower. This one I kind of did a collage background and the flower in a vase, but I kind of transitioned to these single flowers with a collaged background in all kinds of different ways. And these are some of my favorites. This marigold was one of my favorites, just the color combinations on there. And then this, I really liked how that turned out too. And the jasmine, all of these after I have like the collage background. And then this is the one that I just did yesterday of the iris. So today, the flower, I haven't started today's yet. Let me get back to the beginning here. So yesterday I did iris, and I did not check that off, so it's a peony. I've been looking up pictures because I don't know what all of these different flowers look like, but a peony is the next flower for today that I will be doing in my journal. So if you want that list, if you want to have another way of a little spark of an idea, you can go into my Art Journaling 101 group. If you need the link, you can just put that in the comments. And you can have this list of prompts, and then when people start sharing more of those in the group, it just inspires all of us in that community to want to create, right? Isn't that how it happens? You see somebody else doing something creative and it sparks this interest in you that you want to create. So that is the Art Journaling 101 group. And then I did just want to mention, because I've talked about it the past couple of weeks, and I do have it finally almost ready. It's almost ready to send out. I'm going to be sending it out to my email list. And it is the resource guide that I talked about, which is called Mixed Media 101. And all of these 16 papers are included in this resource guide. So if you want this resource guide, just put 101 in the comments and I will know. And when I get this list, or, get it all ready and everything, that way I'll be able to put the link right in your comment. If you are on my email list, you will get access directly to this, and you can be able to download all 16 of these papers to be able to use for collage. So I want to show you a little just preview of what is in this guide. I believe including this front page, which you could definitely use this to be able to, look, this would fit almost exactly for a background for collaging. So I would even use that sheet there. So, but I just want to give you an idea what's in this resource packet, this guide, because I believe it's 23 pages. I put a list of definitions so that you are ever feeling like, I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know what those words are. That is a kind of beginner's list of some mixed media words. I put the 6 essential materials that you would want to have if you were starting with mixed media. I included some ideas down here of some pages and things that I've done. The link to my Amazon shop is in there. And on the back here, I just gave you some ways to get started. A couple more ideas on there that you can use. I gave you in here my 3-step process. And this is the process that I've been using for the flowers. This is the process that I use when I'm doing my portraits. If you've seen those, this is basically the 3-step process that I use with a little bit of explanation for just about anything that I'm doing. And then I gave you some tips specifically for collage paper because that's what I included in here. So just some different tips about storing and the link to my mixed media membership if you want more lessons, more instruction, even some art history because we've been studying artists. There is the link. So if you download this on your computer, these are clickable links that you can go to. And then these are the 16 papers that you get if you download this. So this, one of my favorites. And imagine you can take pieces of this. You can use the whole sheet. You can add to it. You know, you could stamp on top of this. There are all kinds of different ideas that you can use, you know, with these sheets. I printed these back to back. I would suggest that you print them single-sided if you're going to use them, unless you're going to use them in a book. So think about, you could print them back to back and then create a book out of them. And how fun would that be? This one I love because of all the different layers. There are 3 or 4 different layers on that one. This background, just a nice neutral background. So I tried to include all different kinds of backgrounds, different colors that you can be able to use. This was a really fun technique and it created all of these. I could see this for a background for one of my flowers very easily. This one, a fun, you know, just bright. This one almost like fall colors, you know, I think that you could use. This one has some different elements like the dragonfly and the leaves. So you could definitely cut out pieces of these, you know, and just use parts of, depending on what color you want. This I could see is like the bottom of the ocean, you know, water, a wave or something on an ocean kind of collage. This one is really fun. You could use as a background and then add things on top of it, all of the green. This would work really well. Or you could cut out individually, you know, pieces of these and be able, and once you have this, you can print these out and use these as much as you want, as many times as you want. This one with the blue, all kinds of different things, but there's some grays and blacks and then the lines in there. Again, you could cut out pieces. You could use it as a background. You could add to it. This one is a collection of all kinds of different pieces. So if you wanted to cut out that piece, cut out little parts, and you can see the ripped edges. And so a really fun one there that you can be able to use. This one has some really nice bright colors. So you could use this. You could start to, have you ever seen those uncoloring books where they start to see different shapes, you know, different things? I almost kind of start to see a figure, like here's the face and kind of like their arm, like lifting up, you know, maybe flexing or something, and like the body, the legs, and maybe like some long hair or something. Like I start to see like this figure because it stands out so much from the cool background. So you could use it like that too with the shapes in there. This is a fun one with all different kinds of layers in there. And I could see where you could even use a Posca and, you know, a Posca pen and add even more to this. So you could take these as starting points and add to them and, you know, make the collage sheets really your own. I included this one for, 4th of July and Memorial Day and things that you may do patriotic. We have the 250th birthday coming up in the US, all kinds of different things that you could do with that one. Fireworks, 4th of July, all kinds of things like that. This one is kind of fun. You could use these circles, you could use the textures in there, you could just use that circle. So you could add to it. This almost looks gold to me, so I could see adding some gold into there. This one was a fun paper that I did where it was marbled. So I've used this paper in my portraits. Like, I use these papers. These are original papers that I did that I will, that I created, but then I made copies of them so I could reuse them. So I've used this one multiple times. And then this last one, I wanted to do like another neutral, where this has all of this fun different writing in there and stamps and things like that. And I could see where you could even do more of that. And the last page here is just a little bit more guidance if you want it, a few little ideas there, and just me in my happy place working with, some art materials. Looks like I was making a vase of flowers right there. So that is the 23-page guide, the Mixed Media 101 guide. I'm really excited about this. It's taken me a while to kind of put all of the pieces together. But if you would like to have this, just put 101 in the comments, and I will make sure you get this link to download all of this. And like I said, use these papers as many times as you want. And I would just ask that you post them in Art Journaling 101, or if you post them on your profile and you've used some of these papers, tag me or tag this business page. And that way I can make sure to be able to see them and just cheer you on in being creative. If you are on my email list, I will be emailing this out, so you will get that. If you are in my Start Creating Mixed Media membership, I'm going to be downloading this into that group so that you have immediate access to it and you can get to it really easily. So if you're already part of my community on my email list or my Mixed Media membership, you'll be able to get just like direct access to it. So look for that. I'm really excited about it. And just know that, like I said, that's why I show up on Monday mornings doing the videos, showing you the art in the Art Journaling 101 prompts, showing you the fun little optical illusion. It's just a way to be able to get you started creating, because I know what it felt like for a long time not to be creative, and I felt very disconnected. I felt very disconnected from who I know that I am as a creative person. So all kinds of ideas to get you started creating so that you are doing who you feel like you are. I didn't explain that very well, but to me, I just felt very disconnected. So me providing ideas for you is what I wish that I would have had. I wish that I would have had when I was trying to start getting back into creating, is these quick little ideas like this optical illusion, like the art journaling prompts that I can do in a journal, like the collage papers that I could have to do something with. Those are all the things that I wish that I had. So I am sharing those with you. So I hope you have a great Monday. And like I said, put 101 in the comments if you would like the download to this guide here. And I will make sure and get that to you. If you're on my email list, you're going to get it. If you're in my Start Creating Mixed Media membership, you're going to get it. And it will be something that I'll probably update, and those 16 sheets you can use for anything. So I hope you have fun and you get to do something creative with those.